Okay, let's hope that this is it. That one went faster at least. We're now in the groove of things. Ooh, commentary. It's really a game of wait for victory mode to end with either the bomb or the cactuars. I don't really have high expectations. I expect this to go like 50 turns and then get cactuars. But I'm okay with it. And I'm not okay with it. Yes, dude's back. Back in the saddle. This is our, let's see, how long have we been doing this? 1 hour, almost 20 minutes. Not even at the upper end of Lucky Coin. Because at least I'm pretty sure we're at least halfway there. Okay, maybe not halfway there, but you've made some dent. And it's over. Oh, it's jackpot. Okay. I got that scared the shit out of me. I was like, all right, let's go back to surfing the internet, and it's jackpot. I can't wait for people to be like Bible thumping the initial end of victory mode, and then Craig has him over the jackpot. Rip commentary, there it is. Right back into victory. Sorry, in case you guys missed the first time, I wanted to have another victory mode start. I think it's over. Yeah, it's over. Alright. Jackpot in 3 spins, or your money's back. Oh, you know what happened? Is I got jackpot during one of the cactuar things. So just for the lulz, let's read reasons why Final Fantasy XIII sucks. Why is this red? 13 reasons why I hate Final Fantasy XIII. 13. The awful, nonsensical story, because no other Final Fantasy has had a nonsensical story once you really get down to it. The obscenely linear gameplay. Oh darn, we have a straight hallway path. If only there were something like battles, you know, that were supposed to be the focus or something. The utterly broken combat. You can only do one thing at a time. Their job is to be attacking, healing, another type of attacking, offensive status spells, defensive status spells, and sentinel unless you shift paradigms. Ignoring the fact that FF13's battles move quickly and shifting paradigms can take up valuable time, and ignoring the fact that the other two characters have to change jobs unless you've made paradigms that are exactly the same except the wait! That's really horrible! Plus you only have 6 paradigms to choose from at a time. There's no way you can have your characters do exactly what you want. Right. No way! Reason number 10. Moms are tough. This is a terrible, hokey line. And furthermore, she repeats it 2 more times before she's obviously killed. This is terrible writing. The kind I can normally forgive or ignore in other Japanese RPGs where there are other qualities to distract me with. Unfortunately, there's not, and I won't. It's phenomenally dumb. Yes, that reason was phenomenally dumb. I love that. Normally, I would excuse this reason in other games, but because this game already sucks, I'm going to add it to a list of reasons this game sucks. The amazingly uninteresting characters. Samus and Fang are the only 2 characters that are even slightly likable, although Fang is exceedingly Australian for no discernible reason. Right, because going from Pulse is not a discernible reason. Vanille, also oddly Australian, parentheses, I'm not dissing Australian, it's just weird for 2 fantasy characters to be randomly Australian. Right, randomly, you know, because being Polsian means that you shouldn't be foreign. How is this different from, say, the sullen cloud of FF7 or the outright jerk squall of FF8? Without trying to go into a massive nerd diatribe here, I'll say that Cloud starts as more a gruff ham solo type, and his emotional breakdown only comes later and is an integral part of FF7's examination of heroism. FF8's Squall is certainly a jerk, but the game is essentially about him accepting others, so starting as an aloof bastard makes sense. But 2 points I would raise specifically. First, in both FF7 and FF8, there are other non-jerk, genuinely likable characters to take up the slack. If you can't stand Cloud or Squall, there's Tifa, Aerith, Cid, Barret, and Rinoa, Cypher, Quistis, etc. Cypher's genuinely likable, that's cool. Barret's genuinely likable, that's cool. Cid is genuinely likable. The guy that is like, shut up, stone and drink your goddamn tea, bitch! Or whatever. Even the rest of the characters mentioned have actual pasts and backstories that make them interesting. For all intents and purposes, all 6 FF13 characters' lives begin 13 days before the game starts, and a fucking fireworks show, which I know because the game keeps flashing back to it from everyone's point of view as if it's interesting. Well, yeah. The few and boring enemy designs. There are 5 enemies in FF13. There are soldiers, some kind of robot knight thing, some blobs, some tiny things, and a giant armadillo thing. The needlessly complicated equipment system. Would you like to find more powerful weapons and armor and items? Too bad. In fact, there's no armor at all, just some accessories that provide extra HP. Each player has 8 weapons, and only 8, which can be leveled up by some incredibly arcane process of materials monsters drop. Would you like to level up someone's weapon? Oh, jackpot. Sweet. We'll come back to this. But yeah, this is like bullshit writing. It's like, I'll conveniently ignore the flaws in the other games because I don't like this game and I'm going to dish out everything I don't like about it in one fell swoop. And I also love this. You only have 8 weapons. You only have 4 weapons in 8 and they're like useless. Can you see the list? Just search 13 reasons I hate Final Fantasy 13. Also, I need to, someone said that someone, like, I should link the list. When I fail victory mode, I'll link the list. But there's an image in there about a map of the first 6 chapters, and I stared at it and I don't understand it. I don't feel like it's an actual map, I think it's just an exaggeration. And I love it when people are like, every map in 13 is a corridor, and then you're like, is the Arkhill Steppe a corridor? And they're like, that doesn't count, it's too late in the game. It's like, you just said everything is an X. I gave you an example of something that isn't an X, and you're dismissing it for reasons that aren't, this isn't an X. This is not a counter argument, this is just you are complaining. A dying world is just a corridor, yes. Academia 4XX. Just a gigantic corridor. I'll click that once I'm not doing manual things. But it probably is. The one that said like some Japanese people made a map of the first 6 chapters, and I stared at it and it doesn't look like any map of the game. Yeah. Well, that ends it, so I can now go back to discussing things. So let's see. Oh no, not that one. Wait, let's see. Like, that's the one I was thinking of. But let's see. Because you linked somewhere else. Oh, now that I see the supersized version, it makes more sense. Like, I was staring at I thought that was the map of 1 chapter and I didn't understand it, but I'm seeing that it's 6 chapters. I mean, that's what they said was the first 6 chapters, but... But like, when you zoom in, you see that it's not just a straight line path. Like, when you connect the maps, of course it's going to be a straight line path because you have map 1, map 2, map 3, map 4, map 5. But when you zoom in and you see there's actually it's not just run in straight line bullshit. Like... You have to understand that, like, yes, there is a straight line path in story, but the actual maps are not straight line paths outside of chapter 1. And it's silly to mock or destroy a game because of the first chapter or first hour of gameplay, because it's only going to be introducing mechanics. I mean, maybe some games like throwing you into a difficult situation, but this isn't a game that tries to do that. It tries to build you up. The insanely stupid summons. Summons have long been a Final Fantasy highlight since they're so cool and special. Acquiring them is supposed to be something important, something special. So how does this sound? You have to defeat each summon to acquire them, but not necessarily by combat. You have to fill up a gauge by healing a partner, or using the Sentinel paradigm, or pulling off combos, or one of several various conditions with no clue whatsoever what to do other than die and replay the fight over and over again until you happen to stumble upon the answer, or pay $20 for the strategy guide. Does that sound fun to you? This person's pissed that a game that was 98%, reduce enemies' HP to 0, threw them a fight that wasn't reduce enemies' HP to 0, subsequently didn't know what to do and got pissed at the game for not figuring out what to do. And it's not even that complicated. I mean, they tell you in the Eidolon tutorial you're supposed to build the Gestalt gauge. You can see actions you're doing directly building the gauge, so you have to be really ignorant to not know what building the gauge does or what you need to do to build it. Final Fantasy XIII, for no reason whatsoever, decided to do away with the standard RPG experience points leveling system. Instead, it uses Presterium points, which are exactly like experience points, but stupider. Seriously, it's exactly like experience points. It's how you gain strength, magic, HP spells, everything, except you have to physically press a button to make it happen instead of it happening automatically. And don't think it follows... Oh, I'm gonna stop there, because, you know... Are we gonna complain about 10's leveling system and that you have to use ability spheres to learn abilities, or strength spheres, or power spheres in order to level it up? But yeah, 10's ability spheres, power spheres, mana spheres, 12's license grid, although it did have a standard leveling thing along with it, although you had to do license points in order to learn abilities. I think leveling was only for stats. 9's ability system, I remember you had to equip accessories and stuff in order to learn abilities, and when you got enough AP, you would permanently learn it. Yeah, so like this, I don't know why he's complaining about how we're eschewing the standard RPG experience points leveling system when previous Final Fantasies did that. And then the complaint that you have to physically press a button to make it happen instead of it happening automatically. You're complaining about the game playing itself earlier, how you have no control over the allies, and now you're complaining about having to control the leveling. And then it says, don't think it allows for some cool customizing thing. Each Crystarium path is practically a perfectly straight line, exactly like the world, with only a few tiny branches to make a pretense of customization. Also, it's presented three-dimensionally, making it needlessly hard to navigate, forcing players to constantly adjust the camera to even use the damned thing, for what is a straight fucking line. There's actually some level of customization in that, you know, you could not go into those branches. I mean, it's not a high degree of freedom, but there is a degree of freedom there. And I love how he's complaining about how you don't have any degrees of freedom when previously you were complaining about there not being standard RPG experience points leveling because, you know, I would rather have control over my stats, but you're giving me control over my stats. Or I would rather not have control over my stats, but now that you've given me control of my stats, I'm going to complain about the method you're doing it, and then, you know, yeah. I mean... And the same can be said of 10, again. Although there were way more branches there, but... I proudly tell people I play Final Fantasy games for the stories. And then, obviously, I thought Final Fantasy VII was brilliant. I love the obviously, because there's only one way you can play 7, or there's only one way you can think of 7, and that's brilliant. FF8 was more intimate in scope, but genuinely moved me. Final Fantasy X was very bizarre, and not particularly deep, but it was entertainment. Final Fantasy XII's story was incredibly boring, although it was coherent, but Final Fantasy XIII is a mess. I have told you of the awful characters, of the ridiculous names that all include C in them, that even at 25 hours the players have no idea what their goal is whatsoever, but Final Fantasy XIII can't even tell this awful story right. Of Final Fantasy XIII's first 25 hours, I estimate maybe 8 full hours of it has been cutscenes. Well, you know, it depends on how you're fighting things, on what you're doing and whatnot. But, you know, my no cutscene skip run was 13 hours, and my speed run, or not 13 hours, it's like 12 and a half, and my speed run is normally 5 and a half, so that means there's 7 hours of cutscenes out of 12 and a half. How's that for your consideration? Cutscenes which don't advance the story ever, because no one fucking knows what is going on. I'm not sure that you can't argue they don't advance the story, but okay. They are clumsily forced into the game at every opportunity. You can't get through a single map without at least 3 of them popping up to waste your time. They're never short and they're never meaningful. It's just another chance for Lightning to be a bitch, Snow to be a jackass, Vanille to prance around disconcertingly, and Hope to collapse to the ground, put his head between his legs, and moan. You can't build any momentum as a player as you're constantly getting interrupted and you're constantly bored as a viewer because all the cutscenes are horrible. Well, that sounds like you didn't make it past chapter 5. And then I'm gonna skip the next 2 because whatever. Number 1, that I am ridiculously easy to please regarding Final Fantasy games, and Final Fantasy XIII couldn't even manage that. Yeah, 13 reasons I hate Final Fantasy XIII. Reason number 1, Final Fantasy XIII failed to please me, someone who's easily pleased. Is that really a reason to hate Final Fantasy XIII, or is that just a consequence of your dislike of Final Fantasy XIII? Like, a lot of these reasons are not really, like, things. They're just more like... Oh, I forgot to put in 2. GG. But yeah, they're more just like you wanted to have a place to vent, and you tried to construct some, like, rigid format of it, like a bulleted 13 item list, but you're trying to title the list as 13 reasons that 13 sucks. But it's more like 13 things I really want to vent about, please hear me. Now, it's okay to not like a game, but, you know... Oh, hey, jackpot. Wow, cool. Could this be the run? Could we finally get lucky coin now? Is it happening? Well, really, the only way to get this fragment rationally is not to try to force it. It's just let it play overnight and come back to it. There's really no other way you can do it. XIII's soundtrack is awesome. I mean, when people like say, "Oh, this game didn't even get the music right," that's when I feel like they just they're associating the music to Final Fantasy XIII, and they're letting that be their reason for not liking it, because it has some really solid tracks in it. Oh, jackpot! Oh, I think this is it. The jackpot gives me 5,000 coins, and I'm pretty sure I've gotten 2,500 to this point. If not, shoot me. There it is. 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 We may proceed with our regularly scheduled speedrun. Okay, cool.
We really did it. Can you believe it? Now, all we have to do is trade in our coins.
Thank you.
No, hold on.
Even the prizes have been affected by the paradox.
Or no, was the just one guild? Oh no, the one guild was... actually a part of the fragment. I might be able to beat Jay's time now. If I can do Sunlith 400 fast. Oh shit. Yeah, you're right. I should have split a 150. I should have split at the end of Lucky Coin is what happened. Oh well. It's within a couple of minutes. Alright. Now my rubber band's in the way. So I do need to finish Bestiary, you know. And the only entries left are Sunliths. I need to fight an Ilu Yankas and a Seeping Bree. And of course the mini flats. Blinded by Light is awesome. I used to love Saber's Edge a lot, and I still sort of do, but it doesn't like move me as much as it used to. I mean, the one part of the song's awesome. Doom, boom, 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 ba-da-dum, boom, 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 boom. Bum ba-dum bum bum ba-da-dum bum 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 ba-da-dum bum bum ba-da-dum bum 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 ba-da-dum But yeah, 9 has awesome music, and You're Not Alone is amazing. Do 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 do. Bum 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 ba-da-dum bum. And one of the most annoying like arguments against 13 that I've had to field and counter is that no true Final Fantasy fan, no true RPG fan, no one who's played any other Final Fantasy game, or no one who's played, you know, since their childhood in Final Fantasy, or no one whose first Final Fantasy game was 7, etc., could possibly like 13. Because I fit all of those criteria, and everyone refuses, like, accept that I like the game. I refuse, because it counters my point! You're not despawning, so you have to die. I briefly thought about finding a way to teach Chichu Ruinga, but then I feared that in Cerberus Wide he would spam double Ruinga. Probably should check whether that is a possibility, but I feared that would happen. I think this is Ilu? Yeah, it's Ilu. Okay. Go fuck yourself. Yes. Fight fire with a flamethrower. Although really, their fire is not going to be extinguished anyway. When I announced to my Facebook friends that I was planning on learning 13 any %, like a lot of my friends, or like I got 2 initial people like saying, why would you want to speedrun a movie? I thought the game sucked, etc. And then I said, no, the game doesn't suck. I've been playing it for years. It's a legitimate game, and this is something I've been meaning to do for a while. And then they still kept going off with, no, the game's awful, and you're trying to speedrun a movie, and I don't understand why that's so fun. I think I skipped 1 fragment. Good job. I know what I skipped. Good job. And he just kept going on. You want to speedrun something that is literally less interactive than a movie. He wasn't responding to any of my, you know, counter arguments. He just was trying to bash the game for no reason other than he's a mean person.
Time to die.
All those ruingas. Okay, so now I'm done with enemies! Less enemies for life. Except you spawned at a bad place. So good for you. Good for you.
We did it!
I don't give a shit. I just want to play the damn game. That's fair. $100 years later, Enki is still there.
Giddy up.
Come on, Mog.
Giddy up.
I keep wanting to like examine it when he reveals it, but I don't need to because it's an automatic fragment.
Over there, Mom. Giddy up.
Wait, why? I'm still trying to check. Jeez, fuck. Just in case you wanted more crazy chocobo in your life. But this has nothing to do with chocobos. I think this is my least favorite area, to be honest. Like, Sunlith 400 just seems so useless. And I think I read the developers intended it to be like this really silly thing, you know, to take the mood off this sort of tragic story unfolding. But still, it's like, it's pointless. Like, I just feel like it's a waste of time. I'd rather do other things. Alright, moment of truth. Moment of truth. Did I get Monster Professor? If not, which entry did I miss? Is my spreadsheet good, or did I mess up? Intriguingly spectral, the Brescia Ruins theme, at least the one that plays when you first enter Brescia 5, originally had lyrics, and its lyrics are still on the PC version from what I heard, or rather the PC version was based off the Japanese version, which had the lyrics. The English version, because of reception, eliminated the lyrics and just left it instrumental because it sounded like rap. But I guess the PC version left the original sound or original song in there with the rap theme. So interestingly, they did eliminate one vocal song from the game.
Oh, right.
No, I do this all the fucking time. I have to advance through these. I can't skip it. I do this every time because I run up to him mashing X and I forget that this panel's here. Guess what? I have all the graviton cores. I don't give a shit. Stop talking to me. If he says yes. Yes! 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 160F! Alright, now all that's left is to beat the fucking game. And the timer is leet. I wish it would have finished on leet. But it's a new world record, folks. That's a bit creepy spectral, to be honest.
I'll get this one.
So I think Jay's scared now. People kept asking him, Jay, are you scared now? Jay, are you scared now? Jay, are you scared now? He's like, no, no, I never will be. No, no. I hope that dude beats my world record so that I have a reason to come back to it. But no. Jay's scared now. And that was with a shitty lucky coin as well. And not that it matters, but Chocobo music. Crazy Chocobo. And set up paradigms for final bosses. That's fine. In fact, I could probably beat the first two easily like that. Let's do cross for the final bosses. And then something like that. That should work. J face equals fail fish. Oh my gosh. Hey, Lizzie. Welcome back. You couldn't watch any more slot machines. That's fine, because like for the first hour I wasn't getting any luck, and then I got 4 jackpots in the last hour, and a really quick super victory mode, or super victory jackpot. Guess what? He's a trivial fight now. Ruin spam for the win. Not that one. Well, I guess now Sarah's trying to do that, so let's let her do that. Okay. So I think I can skip credits scenes. Yeah, I can. I've done it before. Thank you, T. Ernest. I think there's one more credits. Yes. All right. And now I have to let this scene play out.
They have seen all of history, all of its possibilities. They have seen all the endings. But they must know the goddess XIII is already dead. Her end is final. No man, woman, or bard can bring her back now. Ignorant and blind to their true mission, they did exactly what I wanted. At the end of their journey to save the world, they stilled the goddess's power. Yule, let us begin. We are freed from our eternal curse. Embrace the new world. The goddess is dead.
134621. Yeah. Yeah. Actually surprised that the in-game timer is not that bad. I guess I didn't have to retry many fights, unlike 13. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Great, so this is a good way to end my winter break, considering I spent all of break basically working on this. I kind of thought that Jay's run wasn't fully optimized, but I never actually checked his run. But when I did my 160F, or the first one, which I said I would do for him like a while ago, and I decided to do it mid-December, and I got 16 hours? Like, that beat... I think it beat his second best time, because I was telling him if he got sub 17 160F, that's when I would run it, and he did several runs before he got sub 17, and then I think his next run after that was 14, 16. So it led me to believe that maybe, like, the fact that I got 16 routeless versus his, like, you know, runs, it made me think that maybe Jay's route wasn't really that optimal. It was more like something that he just sort of did, but more that just it worked versus it was actual optimal. So I sat down and I thought, well, it's slow to have to farm monsters, and I know he said something about farming guild to do an earlier lucky coin and upgrading Yakshini and whatnot, and I thought relying on a Yakshini drop is probably slow, and relying on like Cloudburst or Goblin Chieftain, which is what I did in my run, was slow. So I tried to think, like, what if I just stuck with Chichu and Gahongus and maybe Nanochu, because that's another monster throw monster, and that gets me a source of end spells, so I don't need Cloudburst Feral Link. So I know that like 13-2 is easy, so I knew that basically, like, if I stuck with a certain party, I could figure out strats for each fight, versus like 13, where it's like, oh, I want to run with Lightning and Hope and Snow. How do I make this work? Well, you need to level their Synergists in order to get Synergist buffs and blah blah blah. And then you need to get some Saboteur action going on. Versus 13-2, where almost every fight's a pushover. So I figured that if I just stuck with this, I would be able to figure out like strats for fights that would be decently fast. I prioritized my fragments so I could get to Battle Mania and Encounter Master ASAP, so then I could work on bestiary entries. I tried to do whatever bestiary fights I could that I knew would be easy along the path to lower the time, and yeah. I did fragments, like I tried to do as many easy fragments that didn't require monsters as fast as possible so I could up Sarah and Noel's CP before I start tackling fights, because that's usually a good source of CP is the fragments. Yeah, so then I reached the point that I was basically plowing through most common encounters, and then it was just, you know, wrapping it up. Like, Not having a third Ravager is so inefficient for general chaining, but you don't really need to stagger many things. Like, you need to stagger, what's his face? It's been so long. The guy in Erba. Rest Paddle. You need to stagger Rest Paddle, you know, Imperil, Deprotect, D-Shell, Bravery, Faith, Inspel, and really high chain in order to really do any damage to him. That's like the only fight that like not having a third Ravager kind of sucks, but at the same time I can't even kill him without getting to summoned minions, so I just like decided I would up the chain to 400% and then just deal with summoned minions and then proceed with damage things, but then I didn't actually have Gahungus' Feral Link, which made it slow. Or no, I was doing things inefficiently. Never mind. I had a strat that was working with Ally KO Power Surge, but then I dropped that. Yeah, so one of my complaints about 13-2, and I know I'm rambling now, but you know, let me have my 15 minutes after this run to talk about how this run came about. One of my main complaints with 13-2 is how easy it is relative to 13. Because, like, in 13, even if you have sufficient development and some general idea on how to work with the battle system, you really need to, you know, utilize everything in your advantage in order for fights to not just take 20 to 30 minutes. Like, you need to properly buff yourself, you need to properly debuff the enemy, you need to stagger the enemy, you need to defend it against attacks, you need to maintain chain, you need to, you know, keep HP high to keep adrenaline active for certain party members. And then there's even the option of like, well, should I use Fang in this fight? Well, there's pros and cons here. Fang gives me slow and curse. On the other hand, I don't have her Ravager unlocked yet. Or should I use Snow? Well, if I use Snow, then I don't have a Saboteur because I'm locked with these other party members. Versus 13-2, where there's no choice in your first two party members, and your third party member is a monster, and it usually has to be a Commando, Ravager, and Synergist in order to be effective. And your first two party members are also almost exact duplicates because of how Square envisioned the characters being and actually end up being just almost carbon copies. Yeah, so there's that huge element of like, you know, trying to optimize fights in 13 versus in 13-2. Like I mean, I've only discussed like party selection, but even like monster difficulty has been lowered because of the fact that enemies have way too low an HP pool relative to their potential strength. Like, I'm fighting like what are supposed to be like Aster Protoflorians in Erba 400 or Erba 300. They're called Pink Lilies. They have an efflorescence attack, and their enemy intel says that they can gain elemental attributes. But I've yet to fucking see that because I killed them in 2 seconds with Cerberus. Like, 95% of the enemies in 13-2, I'm sure there's like some complex AI that they have set up for each enemy that never gets seen because they die in 5 seconds. And that's probably, I mean, that's the case for many other Final Fantasies, is that a lot of these enemies actually have really intimate, intricate AIs, like, that get revealed in challenge play, but when you raffle stomp them in 5 seconds, you don't get to appreciate the AI or appreciate like the difficulty of these fights, or the potential difficulty of the fights, which is something that 13 has and 13-2 doesn't have. Of course, there are a select few fights where there is some almost 13 level of difficulty, like Sarah versus Caius Paradox Scope, or Unweakened Royal Ripeness, or you know, like Beach Caius, I guess. Or I mean, like Proto Behemoth also. Although, you know, you can reach a level you can raffle stomp him, but if you try to fight him, you know, when you first go through Academia 500, it's certainly tough. But like, those fights are very few, and they are almost mitigated by just upping your stats to ridiculous levels, which, I mean, 13 sort of has that, but I mean, there's no level of upping your stats that makes you able to raffle stomp Rakhtavaja or Vercingetorix or Atticus. I mean, like, my fastest kill against Atticus with maxed stats was 1 minute and 54 seconds, and it was not a raffle stomp, it was carefully orchestrated. My fastest time against Vercingetorix was 2 minutes 52 seconds, and that was with, you know, trying to skip his 4th phase of the fight. You know, none of that's in 13-2. When you have high enough stats, fights can be as much as 30 seconds, and that's it. That's not to say the DLC fights are any easier, though, because I haven't done much of the DLC, but certainly they are probably closer to the 13 level of difficulty. Alright, so I'm sorry I went on a rant there. I sort of got sidetracked. Thank you guys for watching, by the way. All 57 of you that are still here despite this rant. Wow, I can't believe I ranted for so long. I don't normally rant like this. Yeah, I knew at least Valfitter 99 and Gilgamesh were the hardest DLC fights. Yeah. I'm gonna chop stream because I'm done with the streaming part of the stream, and I might be back tomorrow with something because it's the last day of my winter break, and I should probably end it with some run or some gameplay. I don't know what, but if not, I'll be back like next weekend at the latest. I hope to be back, you know, in the evening of the week, but I do have to focus on grad school at least in the beginning because I have to figure out what the fuck I'm doing. But anyway, have a good night, guys. See you.